'cause I can't stop falling for.
I don't even know how to put this. How do I put this in a video? What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Rory Jones from Project Zero Racing, and today is a little bit of an update video for you. So, as most of you probably seen in the last video, unfortunately things did not go to plan. Yeah. So, today I'm going to sort of talk through what has gone wrong. I'll speak about that a little bit further on into the video and what's happening there so far. So what we're going to do is just quickly talk through what's going on with the car and exactly what the plan of action is to get us out racing again. So we're going to jump through to the workshop now and we're going to have a nosy at the car. So, something happened since race day, which was I took the car I took the car eventually to have the sponsor logos and all the vinyl work done. So I'll show you that now and see what you think. So we've got a few bits of vinyl on the car now just to liven it up a bit. The car looked really bland in my eyes at the race, so I wanted to spice it up a bit. So obviously we've got my big main man, Matt Lewis Motorsport, at the top. Dean at RW Developments as well. He did some awesome work on the car, and I really like supporting small businesses that are close by to us, so he had to go on there. Obviously Cyvex for all the mapping needs on the car, obviously the ECU that we're running as well. Spal Automotive, who have been a long time supporter of the channel, and myself. Matt Norris at Spal really hooked us up and believed in us in our early start out. So I'm really happy to have those guys on board. Signature Group, obviously Signature Detailing Group, Ibby from Signature Detailing Group. I've known Ibby for a few years now, and he supplies us with all the cleaning products that keep the car looking mint and keep this paintwork clean. So big shout out to Ibby. There's a couple of little sponsors down the bottom. So Scale Electrics and Motorsports Tools sponsor the Modified Ford series. And I wanted to have them on there because this is basically a giant Scale Electric realistically when you look at the colour and stuff. But yeah, and Motorsports Tools, who do some absolutely crazy things at the moment. They are currently making a brand new 2020 Escorts. They're doing the Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escorts, but fresh registered, brand new shells. They're absolutely insane, building to whatever spec you want. I've been following some of their stuff for a while, and it's super cool to see these cars coming out of their factory. So yeah, we've got them on the car as well because they're sponsors of the series. And then obviously it'd be rude not to have a big Project Zero Racing straight down both rear quarters and on the bonnet as well. So a big Project Zero Racing down there, and then we've got on the rear window, I've got another big massive Matt Lewis Motorsport, because obviously Matt is a huge supporter. He's always looked after me, and he's always looked after the car, so I wanted to try and rep Matt Lewis Motorsport as much as I can. Obviously, you know, I work here as well, so I've got to spread the business love, right? So let's go into the hard part. Well, really hard part for me, to be honest with you. It's quite hard to take a hit on this one. So, engine is not in the car. As you can see, it's a very empty engine bay currently. So basically the main failure point within this whole thing was the head gasket. Now when the head gasket went, unfortunately it did a lot more damage than I was firstly anticipating at the race. Obviously I couldn't really find out until we'd done the diagnostic work, which was ripping the engine to pieces. So got the car back here on the Sunday evening, left it, obviously emptied the trailer and stuff, got all my toolbox and everything out, cleaned up, went home, had some food and shower and went to bed. Took my mind off things for a while, and then Monday came to work, did my work, left the car where it was, didn't really want to touch it, just wanted to try to digest what happened on the weekend. Tuesday came, and I decided that evening was time to get the head off, so removed the head from the car with the turbo kit and everything. It was a relatively easy job, to be honest with you. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. You can leave the manifold and stuff on when you pull the head off. So got that all off, took the head off, and was greeted with an absolute disaster. Well boys, we've done a proper freaking job on this. That's fucking gone. So, this is the head gasket in question, and as you'll notice, there's no gasket between 4 and 5, and it was well and truly on its way through between 4 and 3, or 4 and 3. So there's many things that can make a head gasket fail. My key point, and luckily I was filming, my key point was to check to make sure the car hadn't overheated. Now, I've watched every single piece of GoPro footage that I had, which was practice, or practice qualifying, and also the race as well. In neither of those video clips, now the qualifying video clip was 20 minutes long, and the race one was about 10 minutes or so, because of obviously what had happened. Within that time frame, I literally sat there and watched the temperature gauge the whole way through all the videos. Now, after the first 20 minutes, which was the practice qualifying, and then obviously the first 10 minutes of the race as well, within that time, the temperature gauge did not move from the middle, which is basically where it always stays when the car is running at full operating temperature. It never moves from there realistically unless the car's overheating. Watched it the whole way through all the video clips. It does not move at all. Specifically the moment leading up to when the head gasket failed. Gauge stayed exactly where it was. So to me, the car hadn't overheated in terms of it couldn't have warped the head to then make the head gasket go, or lifted the head, etc, etc. Now, I just want to point out that this is a highly modified car. The gasket we were using was for race use only, which we were using the car within a race. It's always been used within a motorsports environment anyway, since obviously the rebuild. So yeah, basically the head gasket, I believe, just failed on its own. There was nothing at all that sprung into, obviously I work on these cars daily. If there's something wrong, I pick up on it. Now, when I lifted the head off there, everything was tight, head studs were tight, the actual nuts on the studs were tight as well. There was a clamping force still on the head. So I'm not led to believe that the bolts are backed out. All the threads are fine on the block as well, so there's nothing stripped or anything like that. And I don't believe that we were pushing too much cylinder pressure through the car. We were at 0.8 bar on that G3770, okay? We made brake horsepower, which is absolutely nothing for an engine that's built on these. I've never, in the years that I've now been working on these 5 cylinders, seen a head gasket fail, specifically the Volvo head gaskets that we use, the OEM head gaskets and head bolts. I've never seen one fail. My biggest concern was that the ARPs had failed or lifted or backed off, which they hadn't. So the only thing that I can see failing at this point was the head gasket. So that then leads me on to, okay, well, what about everything around the head gasket? For example, the head itself, when I'd had the head done, we'd had the stage 3 Newman cams, we'd had the oversized valves put in, we'd had the Newman valve springs put in, and had all the head work done. I then had the head skimmed as well. Now this makes sure that there's a nice flat surface on the head for when you're sandwiching the head gasket, to ensure, you know, the head's not warped and there's no chance of run out on the head, to make sure that everything clamps together as it should. So the head was done, and also when we had the liners put into the block, that was then plateaued as well to make sure that that was flat. So that was skimmed, plateau skimmed, to make sure it was absolutely flat surface as it could be. So we had 2 nice flat surfaces for this head gasket to mate up to. So in my eyes, there was nothing that sprung to mind that could have had this or helped this along its way to failing. The only other part that was suggested to me by Matt was that maybe the liners had dropped. So sent the block off to the machine shop once we stripped everything down. He's checked the block over. Everything is exactly where it was when he machined it. Basically, everything is exactly the same as it should have been. So this leads me back to it then. The product that failed and the product that's caused these issues now is the head gasket. So, Rory, Why have you stripped the engine down? Well, when this absolutely beautiful head gasket failed, as you can see, when the gasket itself failed, once the gasket had disappeared, I had combustion gases running between 4 and 5 on the combustion strokes. What this has then done in turn is, when it's done its big bang at the top, it's then sent all this lovely hot combustion between the two cylinders. What this eventually did, and I'll put a photo in, is actually melted a hole in the head. Physically melted a hole in the head, which is about the same sort of size as my finger. I could literally fit my finger in a nice smooth groove where obviously it had melted its way through. In turn, what that had done then is it had sent nice hot bits of aluminium straight onto the sides of the liner on cylinder 4. What that then did was then took out the forged piston, or the piston on cylinder 4, which caught inside the bore. So basically, what we're looking at here is a complete engine rebuild. There's 2 parts that I've managed to save on the block. We've managed to go 0.5 oversize on the block. When we've then gone oversize, we've had to have new pistons anyway, so we've gone 0.5 oversize on the pistons to match obviously the block. There was quite a bit of damage on cylinder 4 from where this hot aluminium had been spread through onto the side of the cylinder with the combustion gases. Like I say, we were lucky to get away with a 0.5 on that, which I'm quite relieved about because the block was one of the most expensive parts of the build. So we've got block, we've had to remove, obviously have the machine work done on that. Pistons, I've had to have a brand new set of pistons. Luckily, the rods are absolutely fine, so we'll be able to reuse the rods, which is quite lucky because they were an expensive rod. They were an I-beam rod rather than a H-beam, so they were a little bit more expensive. The head, I've had to have a brand new head, so I've had a new head and I've had everything transferred over from my old head. So I've had the cams transferred over, I've had to have the valves cleaned, checked and transferred over. I've had the springs obviously cleaned, transferred over as well. So there's a head. There will be a gasket kit involved, so we'll be going back to an OEM head gasket. Surprisingly, won't be going for another set gasket as we had before. From there, then obviously bearings. I will have to have a new oil pump because we ran oil and coolant together. Obviously, when the head gasket failed, it pushed combustion gases into places it shouldn't have. Pushed oil into coolant, coolant into oil, etc., etc. So obviously, I had to do that. What else we had to do? Everything's had to be cleaned. Luckily, I've got professional cleaning equipment here, so we can run it all through parts wash and through the sonic bath and stuff. So majority of stuff that obviously the block, for example, and the sump, we've professionally cleaned. The also had to now then, because we've had coolant in the oiling system, I've had to change the oil cooler as well, so there's another expense. Brand new oil cooler, basically gone to shit. Most people, you probably just clean it out and run it still. Unfortunately, I know full well that if stuff is in there, it finds its way of staying in there no matter how much you clean it. So yeah, we've had to change that out as well. I'm quite lucky in the terms of nothing went then from the cylinder out into the turbo and scrapped the turbo. Then we'd be in an absolute world of shit because that was a really expensive turbo, to be quite honest. So yeah, realistically, it's quite an expensive build. Obviously the car, we were supposed to be racing yesterday, so yesterday was Sunday the 13th of June, which would have been Mallory Park, but unfortunately shit gets in the way, parts have to be ordered, parts have to wait for at the moment because of what's going on in the world. So our next sort of round that I'm aiming for is 25th of July, which is at Cadwell Park. Deposit, I think I've paid for that anyway. So yeah, I've just got between now and then to build the car and to get it back to full fighting health. But just wanted to give you guys a quick update on exactly what had happened and exactly what has taken the engine. So basically, we've got a very expensive bill because of a head gasket failing. Like I say, I'm not going to say too much about the company that the head gasket is. It is a WRC race gasket. I'm pretty certain you can go and search on Google for Focus STR SWRC head gasket, and it'll bring the company straight up. But I will be making a specific video for them to show them the failure rate, failure points, and obviously where I believe that things have gone wrong, and they can take it from there. I have been in touch with the company, and they are at the moment, as it stands, denying all blame. They pretty much say it's down to the end user, which I agree with. I wouldn't exactly say that. Well, in fact, let me rephrase that. Out of the 1,000, maybe 1,500 gaskets that I've fitted on these cars now, I've never seen an OEM head gasket fail. It just so happens that I fitted said company's head gasket and we've had a failure. So it wasn't just a minute failure of the head gasket blowing out, it was a complete engine failure caused by the gasket failing. Which is quite a hard bit of pill to swallow, but unfortunately I knew what I was getting myself into on this, so yeah, it's one of those. So I will be making a video for said company. It will be going to them via email, and I will rest the decision on what they want to do from there. Like I say, they have pretty much already denied responsibility. However, I believe that this choice of theirs that they've made, and the reply in their email, that they are very much to blame. I have quite a bit of evidence against them as it stands, and I also have the best way to put it is, in the email that they sent to me, there are a few things that don't correspond or correlate to what's been going on or the way that they've sold a product, so I will be bringing that to their attention. I'd have been quite happy if the company said, put their hands up and say, yeah, it's a gasket failed. Even if they didn't offer me a refund for the gasket, I'd have actually quite liked to have worked with said company and said, look, how can we make this better? How can we perhaps not have this happen again? I'm not the first person to have one of these gaskets fail. In fact, I am one of many people to have one of these gaskets fail. One of my best friends, in fact, you've seen some of the videos of his car, John with a black ST that he's now sold and gone. He had a WRC gasket on his, and that failed within 500 miles. Key piece of information for you all: the car had done 124 miles when the gasket failed. At not even all of that was at the power that it was at. So yeah, basically, to sort of end this video off, I'll be getting in touch with the company. I've got a specific video to do for them first. If they don't want to respond, or they don't want to at least put their hands up and say, yeah, okay, you know, this may be our fault, send us the product back, so we'll have a look at it and we'll see what's going on here. If they don't, then I'll just have to escalate to other ways, basically. So basically, guys, there's an update on the car. We are on track to now rebuild, repurpose, and get back to full racing health, and finally get back out onto the track. Next video will be the video that I didn't release before the race weekend. I wanted to put the race weekend up because it was quite exciting, up until the point the engine went bang. But the next video will be the test day that we did after the dyno day, and it is a solid video of just GoPro footage, basically. I didn't film, I just filmed an intro, outro, and then I've got loads of GoPro footage in it, just to show you how I got on, basically, and you can progressively see what happens in the video. But take it easy, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next video.